Good morning or afternoon or whatever, and welcome to the Ladybug Laboratory podcast. I am Lily, and I will be your host today. This is a podcast mostly about knitting. Other crafts are often brought in, and if you are a returning viewer, you will know that I have been away for a while. It's long and complicated, and I'll get into that at the prattle at the end, but before we go any farther, I wanted to introduce you guys to Poe. This is Poe. He's one of the reasons that I've been out for a while, and he is an itty-bitty 3-month-old kitty. He's wrapped in a blanket, and he's in like a little newborn sling. Just looking out at the world, because he needs some warmth and some hugs. Poe is very, very skinny. He's 3 months old, but he's just over 2 pounds, which normally cats hit 2 pounds by the time they're 8 weeks old, which is how much they have to weigh and how old they have to be in order to get fixed, spayed or neutered. And this little buddy almost wasn't able to get his operation because he's so tiny, even though he's 3 months. So yeah, he's an itty-bitty one. You can feel his spine. So we're trying to take care of him. But I'll talk to you guys more about Poe later. If you are a new viewer, thanks for stopping by. If you're a returning viewer, thanks for sticking around through my long absence. And I hope you guys don't mind having a little buddy with you today. Yeah. You can find me on Ravelry and Instagram as ladybuglily or ladybug.lily. There is a Ravelry group for the podcast, which is the Ladybug Lily podcast group. And that's where you will find an Ask Me Anything thread. You will find an introductions thread, as well as show notes with links to all the things that I mentioned. And hey, yeah, I'm sleepy. Links for the make-alongs. So we do have a make-along going on right now. Knit, crochet, anything that's Ravelry accepted. So weaving, spinning, etc. Hi. And the idea is it is the made-for-me make-along. So you're making something for yourself. It can be anything you want, as long as it's for you. And you have to make it with no guilt attached. Hi, buddy. You trying to bury yourself? Okay. It has to be no guilt attached, just for you. Okay. Oh, sleepy. Yeah, so go ahead. There's a chatter thread. There is a finished objects thread. And we are overdue for pulling prizes on that. So hopefully I'll get around to that soon. I decided not to do a June prize session because only a couple of people had posted. So I'll probably just do some extra ones in August. Hi. This little buddy's squirming around. Oof. Poke your head out. There you go. No, hello. Might be a little bit distracting today. So today we have works in progress, as well as I'm just going to fill you guys in on all the various goings on with these little guys. And yeah, that's all. Normally I do finished objects in the first recording of a segment, but I've decided to switch to doing works in progress for a couple of reasons. Basically, number one, I felt like it didn't make a lot of sense to start with finished objects and then show you what I was working on. Number two, I have a lot of finished objects right now that are blocking somewhere else that I can't get to. And I'll get to that in prattle as well. So today, I don't have much time, so we're just going to do works in progress and prattle, and I will record everything for part B next week. So today is July 26th. I should have mentioned all this at the beginning. I was a little bit distracted. I'm sorry. I'm feeling really rusty, as well as having this squirming buddy. Whew. Today is July 26th. That is a Wednesday. Hopefully this will air today or tomorrow morning, and I will record the parts for segment B of this episode, which is episode 22, next week before I air them. Nothing, we'll talk to that when we get there, but today is just works in progress and prattle. So let's get started with works in progress. Hi everybody, popping in from the future for a minute with a couple of things that I want to say. Number one, I was incredibly rusty this episode, and I was also a little bit rushed for time, so everything's a little bit off the wall. I apologize. It's not much you can do about it. Number two, I did forget to mention a couple of things, so I will splice those in when they come. So I hope that you enjoy it even though I'm rusty, and that the adorableness continues to be adorable. Alright, see you later. Okay. In my dancing sheep little feet progress bag, I have my red dragon socks, and these are knit with Machete Shop DK, Dirty DK, in the red dragon colorway. I did them cuff down, and they are using the Vanilla is the New Black pattern. This was one of the projects that I brought with me on my recent trip that I used specifically as a sort of generic project because it was very vanilla. So last time that you saw them, I had gotten to here on the cuff. There we go. There is the Vanilla is the New Black heel. Vanilla is the New Black. And then I finished off the toe. So these ones ended up with, normally I try and make the cuff and the foot about the same length. This cuff is much longer, as you can see. And these are for my brother. These are going to be his outdoors work winter boots. He lives in New Hampshire, and he works outside a lot. So he gets nice boots, and he needs nice, thick, durable socks. So I figured if they were taller, like boot-sized, that would be totally fine. So I finished this while I was on my trip, which I got back from a couple of weeks ago, and I forgot to bring the second skein, so I sent this back with my husband. Hey. So that is that work in progress. Alright, so for more works in progress today, I worked on my snowfall shawl, and this is the Frau Hall, I believe, pattern, which was gifted to me by Carolyn Mack of the Next Beautiful Thing podcast and patterns. And last time you saw this, I was right here. So there are 4 charts to this plus an applied border, and if you're doing the large size, which I am, you repeat the second and third charts twice. So last time that you saw this, I was right here. I had finished the first repeat of the second chart, and since then I have done the second repeat of the second chart. So this is with some nice white lace weight yarn. It's not going to focus. My focus is really bad today, I'm sorry. I'm still working on getting the new setup since we moved. My kitty. So that is with Black Trillium Fiber Arts lace weight yarn. I'm not sure exactly the details. I do have some beads in there. And that is living, hey Kit Kat, in my Ladybug project bag, which was also from Carolyn. So thank you, Carolyn, for both of those. Next up is my Secret Garden shawl, which is from a kit from Little Skein and the Big Wool. Goes with the bag, the pattern, and that is Secret Garden by Elena Dakos. There we go. So, this is where I was last time you saw it, and I have done another repeat. So each repeat is like half of the chart, if you will. It's kind of weird, but I think I do it like 14, 15 times, so I think I'm on 4 now. Yeah, let's see. I also started a new project, and this is the Eason shawl. Let's see if I can find the pattern. Probably don't have it. Well, I got some Malabrigo Rios to work on this. I was on my trip and I started it. It has an 864 stitch cast on. What? This is so ridiculous. So this is where I am. I'm maybe 3 inches up. I'm almost halfway through the pattern when you do the percentages and all that stuff. It's going to be much longer than that, but you know how it is with shawls. It's such a huge percentage is in the last few rows or the first few if you're doing bottom up. Here's the problem. This pattern calls for DK weight yarn. I'm using worsted, but I'm doing it on the recommended size 6 needles, and it's just too tight. And I think I'm gonna have to go up a size or 2, which means I have to rip the whole thing out, which is almost 2.5 skeins of yarn. I'm gonna have to do it. It is what it is. I was really, really working hard on this, and I was ready to go, and now I just don't have the heart to rip out all of that work. It's like a week and a half of work of solidly just working on this. So I don't know. We'll see, but I don't think it's here to stay. I'm gonna rip it out and try it again. But that is living in my bicycles studio in the green bag. Well, one thing that I forgot this episode is a work in progress that I forgot to mention. So, one more work in progress that I have is living in my Tea Time bag by Front Range Bags. And this is my Morning Mist pullover. Looks like this. And when you last saw this, it was just before I left on my trip. And I had done most of this back lace panel. So I finished the back lace panel, just this little section. I picked up for the shoulders and I began knitting and stockinette. And I'm having some trouble getting this to fit, partially because my gauge sucks. My gauge is always awful for every project ever. But, yeah, I was trying to work on it while I was out of town, and I was supposed to block it, and I didn't, and then I just need to take a minute and take a step back and look at this. But obviously with everything going on in my life, I haven't really had a good chunk of time to figure out what's going wrong. So this is probably going to be on the back burner for a little bit until I figure that out, which is unfortunate because I was really excited to wear it, but I will get it, no worries, and I'll figure it out. It's going to be, when I have the mental energy to start figuring things out, this is going to be one of the first ones, because then after I have it figured out, it's stockinette. So, payoff. Yeah, so that's all that I have to add on that section, and I will see you one more time. So my next project is one that I have done a lot of work on since you've last seen it, and that is my stained glass memories blanket. Now, on my trip, what happened is about halfway through, I was going on, 2/3 the way through, I was going on a road trip with a friend of mine, and we just went for a little over a day. It was 12 hours, and so we did it in one day. It was a lot of fun, and I'll talk more about that in Prattle when I talk about the trip. But before I was getting ready to go, we were comparing notes on our scrap blankets, and I mentioned, wouldn't it be cool, what a nice project for the trip is a memory blanket. And I hadn't brought mine with me, but she had a bunch of scraps that she had more than she needed of. So I figured I'd just start a new section, because the benefit of the way that I'm doing my blanket is that I can just start a new base square and add that on. And so then when I got back, I was really on a stained glass blanket trip. And I think the reason that I was so into it for a while there was because of all the stuff that I'm going to talk about in Prattle. It's just been a little bit nuts here. And so the stained glass blanket was kind of one of the only things that I had the mental energy for, you know? So, let's see. There are some that I finished since I talked to you guys last time that I will show you. So since I talked to you last time, this is the right side of the blanket. I added this one, that one, that one, this red one, this yellow, and this one. Now you may recognize some of these. Most of these are just minis that I've gotten from amazing people, but this one is the Captain Tight Pants colorway. Then, while I was on the trip with my friend, I started some base squares. So I started this brown one, this blue one, that one, and that one. And so all four of those are new. I did this blue, this red, pink, the stripes, and the sparkly pink. This is Arbor Twist, by the way. And I did this one, and this one, and that one. This one right here, and that one, and that one. This gray one, and this green one. So that is quite a few squares. I'm not going to be adding any more base squares to my blanket. It's pretty much going to be done in terms of base squares. I'm just going to connect it. So at this point, I've got the left side that I just showed you, the right side that, the left, gosh, the two sides that I just showed you, and I've got a pyramid that goes in the middle, and I'm just going to start combining them. So it's not going to be too long before this is no longer a travel project, but I'm pretty excited for it. So, yeah, that's what I've got for Works in Progress today. Alright, last time that you're going to see me from the future, and at this point I should be talking about my stained glass blanket. One thing I wanted to add to that. First of all, part of the reason that I've been doing that is that I did not have the mental energy to do really anything else. I didn't even have the mental, I have to wind yarn in order to start stockinette socks, vanilla socks, and I don't know where my ball winder is, so that's where I'm at. So I'm just working on my scrap blanket, because that's what I have energy for. But I did take a moment, because I know a lot of people have been waiting for it, and it's been a long time. I wrote up the pattern to correspond with the videos, and I promised I would do that in July, and it's the very end of July, so I did it. And there's a thread in the Ravelry group where I'm looking for test knitters. And what this means is all the details are in there, but basically I'm just asking you to do each square a couple of times and tell me if the directions make sense. You don't have to finish a blanket in the timeline or anything. Just do enough to tell me if they make sense. Because I don't want to like publish it, not that I'm really going to publish it, but turn it into a PDF, put it officially on there until I'm pretty sure that it makes sense to people other than me. So if you are interested in that, please let me know. You can contact me on Ravelry, you can comment in the thread, you can probably contact me on Instagram. I think those are really the best places to get a hold of me. If you comment below, I'm gonna forget. I respond to everybody that comments below, but in terms of taking a list for this, I'm gonna forget. So Ravelry or Instagram are the best places. Yeah, I hope you guys are all doing well, and things are changing in my life over the next few months. So when things have settled down, I have some nice plans for this podcast. I was hoping to get to them this summer, but the whole situation with the cats kind of threw a wrench in everything. So, and it's an adorable wrench, but it's a wrench nonetheless. So yeah, that is all from future me. I hope you guys are doing fantastically, and continuing on from here on out will probably be my prattle section. So goodbye, or continuing with prattle. So, I don't know where to start. I guess I can just start with my trip. So I went on my trip. It was amazing. I stayed with friends for a couple of days while they were at work. And while they were at work, I worked on complicated knitting projects. And then when they came home, I worked on vanilla stuff so I could hang out with them. Then I took the train to visit my cousin. And on the train, I worked on some more complicated stuff. And then same deal while I was visiting her, and then I took the train to visit my friend Danielle, who is the person behind Selkie Studio Company. Hi Danielle. If you're watching, you're probably not. She doesn't really do podcasts. And she and I hung out for a couple of days, and then we drove to see her family, and her family is pretty close to mine. So we drove down and she dropped me off at the train station. And I took the train up to see my family. I saw my family for the 4th of July, and then I flew home. And I got back on July 5th, very late at night. July 1st was when our new lease went into effect at our new place, which is where I am now. I have a craft room. This is like a room for my crafting, and I am very excited about that. You can see I've got some yarn already, books, behind my head is some fabric. It is not organized in any manner yet. It's just enough that it's functional. So I've got like my desk, my shelves of stuff, and my sewing machine. It's not really super well organized yet. He's so cute, he's asleep. Oh, I moved him, his eye opened. But I'm really excited that I have my own room. It's gonna be amazing. There are so many things that I've already just started doing, and one of the great things about this new place is that I can put things on the wall, which I never could do before. And I can paint. So I don't know how much longer this room is gonna be this sort of pale cornflower yellow. Bright cornflower, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to explain. It's like a mustardy cornflower. It doesn't really capture in the picture well, but the whole house is that color. The whole house. And when we first got it, the ceilings were that same yellow color. Oh my god. It was like I was living inside of a traffic light. It was nuts. So when I got back, the first thing that I did for anything else is I painted the ceilings. So the ceilings are white. Thank God. And that made a huge difference. It didn't make a lot of difference to my husband. He didn't really care, but it made a huge difference to me. Just not feeling like I was literally trapped inside this color, like having the ceilings be white. And it's a nice color. It's just a lot of it, you know? So, yeah, so I did that, and I did that all the way through the first week. So that would be 2 weeks of July gone. And then, the second week I was back, third week of July. That Monday, the movers came, we moved everything. And while I was here that whole week before painting, I had discovered that there were some stray cats out back. There's 2 adult tabbies, 1 adult sort of majestic gray kitty, and 2 kittens. And the 2 adult tabbies had clipped ears, which if you know much about stray cats, I don't know if they do this everywhere, but in the US, if a stray cat has a clipped ear, it means that they were in a trap and release program, which is where somebody will trap them and then take them in, and they'll get 1 month of flea treatment, because you can't do more than a month at a time, vaccinated for distemper, which is the most important one for a kitty, and they will get fixed. And that way it cuts down on the stray cat population. So 2 of them had been trapped and released. Often they just automatically release the cats. They don't usually try and socialize them, especially if they're adults, because it's hard to do. And our current kitty, Bodhi, was a trap and release, but they tried to socialize him. I'm not sure why they decided to socialize him, but he's a fluff ball, and I'm glad that they did. So when we first got Bodhi, he was still not really fully socialized. He wasn't aggressive, but he was not socialized, if that makes sense. So we've already had experience with socializing cats. So when I moved in, I knew at the very least we were going to do trap, neuter, release, because it's the responsible thing to do. It keeps there from being a burst in the cat population. And I mean, these guys they're not doing well. One of the things that comes with having stray cats in our backyard is that the backyard is infested with fleas. Infested. So, I've been taking care of that. It's been a long process. I have over 100 flea bites on my sort of abdomen area, and that's because for a while what I would do is I went out in my tights, and that's just the bites that I got from about 20 minutes every morning going out in my tights to treat, because they would crawl up the outside of my tights and then bite my stomach where they could get at me, and it was awful. So they're mostly gone. They're mostly gone. And so this was all happening before we moved. And I started feeding the kitties. And we started really feeling welcome in our yard. And so then the day that we moved, on the Monday that we moved, my husband, Randall, he took Bodhi, our normal cat, to the vet, because we figured he'll go to the vet while we're moving, make things easier. While we were there, we discovered he had a rotten tooth with a hole in it, and that was causing him a lot of pain. And the vet said, there's not really a reason it happened, it just happens sometimes. It's not like we did something wrong, which was good. Good to hear, not good that he had that, but good to know that we hadn't caused it, because you never want to do that to your pet. My first reaction is, oh my God, what could I have done, And, so he had to go into the vet again. He does not like going to the vet. So, yeah, I'm saying a lot. I'm so sorry. Excuse me. So, that day, after we moved, started unpacking. It's been a ride trying to unpack and get everything taken care of. And yeah, it's been a lot. I'm still not done. You can't see it, but there's 3 boxes right there alone, okay? But one of the things that we started looking at while we were unpacking is what to do about the stray kitties in the backyard. And somebody hooked us up with a trap and release program. So we got some traps we could use, we got, a place that we can take them with vouchers and whatever. Well, so we went, so then I was talking to people about that. That night, that Tuesday, I went to Stitch and Pitch with Jessica Ruth of the Jessica Ruth Knits podcast. Hi, Jessica. And it was a blast. It was amazing to just get out of the house and get my mind off of everything and sit and knit. And I had a lot of fun, and it was really great to meet Jessica in person. And she's amazing. And if you guys don't know her, you should go watch her podcast. You should say hi, because she's really awesome. She's a really awesome person. And she is collecting handmade baby items. So knit, crochet, sew, whatever it is. And she's going to donate them to a local maternity home near her. So send her some stuff, head on over, say hi, because she's amazing. So I had a lot of fun, Jessica. I hope you did too, but I definitely had a lot of fun. It was really great. We should do it again. So then, God. So then I'm talking and contacting with these trap and release people, and I'm trying to unpack and trying to deal with the fleas. And it wasn't until probably Wednesday morning, no, it would have been Thursday morning of last week, that I really started getting the fleas taken care of. No, I started spraying for them, and it wasn't until Sunday that I put down the diatomaceous earth, and that's when I got them taken care of. So I'm feeding the kitties, and they're getting more and more comfy in our yard. And what happened is on Monday, we had one of the first times we tried to trap, and we got this little guy. This is Poe. And he is 2.5 pounds. He's 3 months. And like I said, they're usually at least 2 pounds when they get 8 weeks, because that's when they get fixed. And there was some concern that maybe he didn't weigh enough to get him fixed when we first caught him. Like, we weren't really sure what to do. So he did weigh enough, barely, but he did. So he got vaccinated, he got fixed, he got flea treated, and we took him back. And we had to keep him in the cage overnight because he was still under anesthesia and all of that. And the way that flea treatment works, it's weird. It goes into the cats and it sets it up so that when the flea bites them, the flea dies. And so all night while I was feeding him and getting him water, and he wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, and petting him in the cage, I kept watching these fleas hop off of him and die. And in the morning, when I went out to take care of him, I picked up the cage, and there was a towel on the bottom of the cage, and I had put in there to make it soft for him. And I pulled it out, and there were at least 2 or 3 dozen dead fleas just on the table, not even on him. So the poor guy had been infested, absolutely infested with fleas. Poor guy. And as I'm petting him, he's got little scabs from it and everything, and oh gosh, it was awful. So now he is feral, which means he does not associate humans with good things. So it was really tough. We have a little room set up for them with, cat toys and food and water, and so far it's just him, and the poor guy's been used to living in a cat colony his whole life. So he feels pretty lonely. So that Monday when we first trapped him, he wouldn't eat, and that was the same day I had to take Bodhi, my normal cat, to the vet to get blood work done before his surgery. Which his blood work is fine, but juggling cats. Feel like, now I get a little bit of a sense of what it's like to be a mom with 4 kids that do a bunch of different things. Little bit. Not really. So, yeah, so then Tuesday, which was yesterday, for me, assuming I get this out on Wednesday, it was, I had to get him out of the cage. He wouldn't eat, he wouldn't drink, he wouldn't sleep. He was just in there shaking, and he wouldn't come out, and he wouldn't let me grab him and pull him out. He would just claw and claw and claw, and the way that it was shaped, it was very difficult to do that, so I couldn't get my hands in. So what I ended up doing is I picked up the cage, and I took it to the bathtub. Put it in the bathtub, opened it, closed the sliding glass door, and stood outside. And he walked out of the cage. So then I picked the cage up, and I sat where the cage had been, a little towel down, sat with him, tried to get him to eat. He wouldn't eat. So then finally I was like, well, I'll give him a little bit to get adjusted to being outside of the cage. And I walked away, and all of a sudden I heard this crash, and I came back, and he is running and climbing and trying to climb out of the tub, and it's slippery, and he keeps falling and like hurting himself. And the poor guy, I mean, despite the fact that he's got a towel wrapped around him twice and he's in a sling, I can feel each individual ridge of his spine down the side here, to the point where it's like, it's bony, like his hip bone is going into my stomach because he's so skinny. And you know, this is why you have to get feral cats fixed, because they can't feed themselves. It's, especially in this area, I don't know where it is everywhere, but it's not healthy for them. It's really not. They're not wild cats. They're feral, domesticated cats. So, anyway, the poor guy is thin as bones, and normally you can pick up their scruff on the back of their neck like Mama does, but he doesn't even have enough skin for me to pick him up there. It's really bad. So he was trying to climb out of the tub and falling on his back, and he was meowing and meowing and meowing for Mama to come and find him, and Mama's outside meowing, trying to find her little kitty, and it was just, oh God, it was heartbreaking. So as soon as I opened the sliding door, he dove and he tried to hide under the towel, and his little butt was waggling. He was trying to get under the towel. It was so sad. And I had been reading up on what to do to socialize cats, because you're supposed to socialize them between 3 and 7 weeks. That's the ideal, so that they're sort of young enough that they can, you know, get used to humans. And he's obviously older than that. He's sound asleep. Oh my gosh. But, so one of the things they had talked about is that you have to get them used to being safe around you. And they talked about using various baby slings and stuff like that. And, you know, I wanted to get that association in there as soon as possible. So he buried himself under the towel. I just went down, I scooped him up, wrapped him in the towel, and I did exactly this. And he's too tiny to really run away, so his nervousness just turned into shock, and he just let me carry him. And he actually slept for the first time in about 36 hours. He slept. He was out. And I carried him around in a sling, and he was just sleeping, like he is now, for a couple of hours. Let's see if I can show him to you. Yeah, there he is. He's just out cold. Poor guy. So, yeah, just like that. And sometimes he tried to stick his head out and look around and see what was going on, but he calmed down really, really fast, just smelling me and being next to the warmth of my body and the safety. And I mean, he's tiny. I can't imagine how difficult it is to keep himself body temperature controlled, let alone the fact that he's so malnourished. And so that night, I finally got him to eat. I spoon-fed him food. And as soon as he figured out that it was food, he just ate it all up. And we let him go in his little cat room, and he's got, you know, a cat tree and boxes to hide in and cat toys, and he's doing good. He's doing good. He still freaks out a little bit when I first walk in the room, But he gets over it, and he's eating now. He's eating, which is so important. Poor little guy. So we're going to try and socialize him. Tomorrow we're going to try and trap Mama and his brother or sister, because we don't want him to be alone. If we get Mama, we're going to keep Mama in a separate room for a little bit so that she doesn't try and get protective and attack us when we go near the kittens. If they're not socializable, which it seems like they will be. Look at that. That's not aggressive at all. If he's not socializable, then we will let them go. And we will keep feeding the cats in the backyard that have already been ear tagged. I've already put bedding down out there for them, cedar bedding, because cedar repels fleas. But we'd prefer to keep them inside and foster them because it's better for them. They don't get covered in flea scabs. They have enough food, have enough water. It's just better. So poor guy's out now. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. I will be going out of town again in a week and a half. Yeah. So if you're in the area and you want a cat sit, we've got some adorable kitties you can take care of. Yeah, we don't have a cat sitter yet, and that's going to be a real problem if we end up with, 4 cats. But today, Bodhi is getting his surgery. I'm going to have to pick him up much later. But, yeah. So, I guess that's all for today. Now that I've rambled on about this little guy for way too long, I'm going to let him sleep a little bit more and do some editing and hopefully get this posted either tonight or early tomorrow morning. So, thanks for watching. Thanks for stopping by. I hope that you enjoyed yourself. If you are new, this is not really a normal podcast. Normally I do have more crafty content, but I haven't been able to have any because life. So, yeah, I hope you have a wonderful whatever you are doing and keep being awesome because you all are.